Well, hello everyone. This is Dr. Eileen, and this is Medicine Walk. Sorry, little thing in my throat. When you live in a place that's had a lot of fires, the air quality isn't quite the best. So, oh well. And for those of you who are listening in on Blog Talk Radio, oh, hold on a second. This is Medicine Walk. I have tried doing something a little bit different, which is I've rotated the angle of my camera. So this is actually another part of my office. So it's like, I got this thing in the background that somebody told me. It's like, oh, well, that would be cool if you did it with that as a backdrop. So, okay, well, let's try something different. So, Blog Talk Radio listeners, hello. And Medicine Walk listeners and viewers, hi. And I hope you're having a wonderful week. I hope that things have been gentle for you. And, well, life goes on. Sometimes it's gentle, sometimes it isn't. And my saying is, life is fun until it isn't, and it sucks until it doesn't. But no matter how much fun it is, at some point it's going to suck. No matter how much it sucks, at some point it's going to be fun again. So the trick is to be able to hang in there as each phase moves. And it may feel like you're not moving forward, but honestly, you really are. It just, there's those times that are just really very difficult to manage. And today's discussion is about those difficult times. And from the perspective of, well, in part, watching someone go through. I mean, it's one thing to go through a hard time yourself. And there's a lot of different coping tools that come in. It's especially difficult when we're watching someone that we care about go through something really tough. And there are times when we want to fix it, but we really shouldn't, because it is important for us each to go through tough times. And I know for me that the toughest times that I went through, by the time I finished with it, I realized I was stronger than I ever thought I could possibly be. I realized that I was more confident at the end of it. That what I figured was bigger than me, it turned out it wasn't. And that's a tremendously empowering moment. And I know how difficult it is to have to sit back and watch somebody go through something. And you want to help, you want to make it easier for them. The question is, should you? And this also applies to when we're going through, a tough time. And, well, sometimes there's no way past it but through it. And, there will, be folks who want to help, who want to make it easier. Will either they try to convince you not to do it, or they try to do it for you. And it's hard, because if you're going through it and it really is something that's very scary, and I mean, and no one else can decide what level of scary is too scary. That's for each one of us to decide for ourselves. So the idea that, you got somebody who rides in on their white horse and, is the hero, and, oh, don't worry about any of this. You don't have to worry about any of this. I'll take care of it. And although that's tremendously tempting, is that really the right thing? Is it really what allows you to grow as a person? Will that thing always seem overwhelming if you never actually overcome it yourself? Now, does that mean we're supposed to do stuff alone? Absolutely not. It is important to be able to ask for help with things. The question is it really so overwhelming that even with help, you still can't be in there managing it? Help is support. It's not necessarily taking it over. And it can be tough when you're talking with somebody and, they're going through a tough time and you've been through it and you know how to manage it. You can advise them and say, well, I was in a similar situation and this is what I did. Maybe they take your advice, maybe they don't. But to take it over and to do it for them Well, it's sort of like, at some point, we all, or at least most of us, learned how to ride a bicycle. And when you're learning to ride a bicycle, it's a given that the first few tries, that first time those training wheels come off, and you really have to balance that sucker yourself. And you're riding along, and suddenly it starts to wobble, and it starts to wobble more, and then boom. I mean, other than, your parents buying you now, I had, like, my kids had the knee pads and the wrist pads and the helmet and all of that stuff. And I had them suited up. Well, for those of us who are a little bit older, it's kind of like, all right, I'm going to hold on to this and I'm going to run beside you and then you're going to take it off. So, the first time, not so good. But the second or third time, it reaches that point where, you start figuring out how to balance it. And the thrill of being able to ride the bike kind of kicks in for you. And then the next thing you know, you're pedaling and you make it to the end of the street and you come back and everybody's cheering for you. And that's a very powerful moment in most of our lives, because it really is one of the first times that we had to take on something ourselves and really face it head on in order to get something that we wanted. And so, it's tough. It was tough as a child learning to do it. It was tough as a parent, letting go of the bike, running alongside them and letting go, and, just, oh, please, God, don't crash or don't hit a car or anything like that. It doesn't work if I were to get on the bike. It's like, well, don't worry, you don't have to ride the bike. I'll ride the bike. Or let's leave the training wheels on till you're 18. So, at some point, it's that, well, really that leap of faith. And that leap of faith, a part of it is being able to realize you're stronger than you think. And that when you're facing something, nobody says it has to be pretty. Nobody says it has to be a 100% success. And you can be able to at least get close as you're learning to manage it. As I got better riding my bike, I started, enjoying it. I learned how to ride with no hands. Maybe do couple of little jumps, that sort of thing. And then it becomes fun. Then it becomes, wow, I've mastered this skill. Now I'm going to expand on it. But you can't reach that wonderful, expansive place until you're able to deal with, all right, I might fall. And in helping a child learn to ride a bike, it's a given. You're going to have to deal with, watching that child wobble, 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 boom. It's like, okay, did they break anything? No. All right, let's get them up and help them to realize, because at that point it may be like, no, I never want to learn to ride, because I knew that's where I was. No, I never want to learn to ride a bike. My mom and my dad kind of tag teamed. One would do it until they got frustrated, and then the other one, it's like, okay, you're going to do this. You are going to learn to ride this bike. And so I took a breath and got back on it, because they knew that if I walked into that house, the chances of getting me back on that bike anytime soon were going to be really low. And even though there might have been a part of them that would have liked that, it wouldn't have served me. It wouldn't have empowered me. I would have spent my time sitting on the sidelines. I would have let my fear overcome me, and they would have let my fear overcome me. When I looked in their faces and they looked at me and said, there's no reason you can't ride this bike. You can do this. Now, come on, get back up. That for me was that validation that they believed in me. They believed in me more than I believed in me. And sometimes that's the best encouragement that you could ever give someone who's struggling through something, is have them look you in the face and they can see, you know what? This person believes in me. You tell them, you know what? You can do this. This isn't bigger than you. Let's figure out a way for you to do this. You can, it's so important. especially with young people, going through stuff, because they're stepping up into a world that, technically they are legally adults, but there's still that, how many of us were really ready to be an adult? I don't think there's any generation where that transition was an easy one. Well, I'm grown, but honestly, I have no idea what it means to be an adult. And I know some very grown adults who are still working on that piece. So the idea is that if you can have that type of trust with somebody, where when they say, it's like, forget your fear, put that out of your mind, you can do this. Whether it's going out and getting a job for the first time, learning how to drive a car, learning how to ride a bicycle, whatever it is, dealing with being a parent, dealing with, taking care of people. The idea is that none of us, the first time anybody does anything, they're not going to be good at it. Nobody is excellent at something the very first time they try. They may pick up on it, and some people pick up on stuff faster than others. So, maybe it's somebody who is tremendously adept and they're able to go, it's like, oh, okay, well, I can, I've tried it a few times. Yeah, I've got the hang of it. Or maybe it takes a little bit longer. Maybe that learning curve is a little bit steeper. But to be able to keep at it and keep at it and keep at it, because at that point, when you've got it and you got there because it's what you created, that is so empowering. That is so enlightening. Because then once you get over that, you realize, well, maybe a few of these other things that I thought I couldn't do, well, maybe I can actually do those too. And you never know until you try. My mom used to have a saying, nothing beats a try but a fail. And I've sort of modified that to just say nothing beats a try. Nothing beats the attempt, because until you make the attempt, you have no idea if you can do it. Until you make the attempt, until you see whether or not it'll work out for you. And not everything's meant to say work that you always thought would be cool. Then you go and you try it, and well, once you get into it, not so much. But you gave it a shot, and there were things you learned from it. And if that's not what you like, maybe you like something similar. It's about trial and error. It's about learning as you go, which is what we all do. And it's what we spend our whole lives doing, is learning as we go, figuring it out as we go along, doing our best to be able to make as much sense out of, the puzzle that's been put before us. But if somebody takes that puzzle away and puts it all together and then lays it in front of us, we never figure out how to make the steps work. And then we can't build on that foundation to be able to do other things, to be able to do bigger things. One of the hardest things that I do is when I have to let somebody figure it out for themselves. And in a position of being a teacher, that can be especially hard. And being a spiritual teacher, because every student has to hit that place where, they're going to need to go into the dark and stinky alone. They're going to need to figure out, okay, who am I? How do I use the tools that I've been given? And they know that on the other side of the dark and stinky, I'm there. And I'm waiting, and they're not alone. And as they need to go through those pieces, I'm going to let them go through the pieces, knowing it's not going to be pretty, knowing it's going to be scary, and knowing that the main thing that I will be giving them is the validation that I believe in them. As I believe in you. And oh, well, she's never met me. You've never met me. I don't care. I believe in you. I know that as I'm sitting here talking to a webcam, I'm still talking to you, and we're together. in this moment because you're there and I'm here. And there's a connection, and we're all connected. So I believe in you, whatever it is you're going through. If it's at a point where you don't have the knowledge to be able to move forward, well, that's just an issue of gaining the knowledge. Talk to somebody who has either had a similar experience or do some research, figure out a way to find the solution to the puzzle. And it's not about having someone do it for you, because you don't need that. Honestly, you don't need to have somebody solving it for you or handing you a solution, because you are able to. You know, you're able to figure it out. You are smart enough. You are either old enough or young enough. You are, you know, whatever. You know, you have enough resources to be able to figure a way out of a problem. And if you can't, if there are resources or information that you lack, talk to somebody. Find out how other people have managed it. And it really depends. It depends on what type of dream you have. It depends on what it is you're working to overcome. If it's a health issue, then talk to people who have been involved in it, you know, medical professionals who specialize in that area. Go onto forums where people talk about having the condition, whatever it is. Find out what other people are experiencing. Gaining information, there's nothing wrong with that. It's really good to be able to be proactive and find out as much as you can, because you don't know what you don't know. And the more information you have, the more choices you have. And you want to have as many choices as possible. I want you to have as many choices as you can possibly have, because otherwise it limits you. And you don't need limits. None of us need limits. We all need to be able to at least dream and aspire to the things that we want in life. And for those things, let's say if you're 60 years old and you always wanted to be an Olympic marathon runner and you've never done it, okay, that may be difficult. But there are lots of senior marathons where you could learn. Maybe you won't run the Olympic marathon, but maybe you might be able to, you know, work with a senior marathon and learn how to do it. Learn to go from, you know, walking to walking briskly and, you know, maybe to running. Consult your doctor. Make sure that, you know, you have guidance on that, because there's lots of things involved in that. There's information you need. So while you may not be able to get to the Olympics, you can get close enough that you feel that sense of satisfaction. And maybe it's not that you want to be an Olympic runner. Maybe you just want to be able to challenge yourself physically more than what you've been challenged before. You know, maybe you want a rite of passage. Maybe you want that you know, that warrior's journey. And there's no reason why you can't have that. Just get the information that you need. And then for yourself, once you get information and advice and guidance and all that, you know, that's about supporting what you want to do. Then you figure out what you want to do. And if you're, you know, close with somebody who is really working on trying to find a way to do something, sometimes the best thing to do is just say, well, I know you can do it. Just, you know, figure it out. I'll be here, you know, I'll be over in the next room, and, you know, you see what you come up with. Encourage people to come up with as much as they can on their own, because then when they come in and they say, hey, this is what I came up with, it may not be totally, you know, what you think, but do your best to be supportive of it. If it basically gets them there, it's like, you know what? Well, you know, hey, give it a try. And then they'll figure out whether or not it works or not. So really the whole point of this is that we gain so much by what we overcome. We gain confidence. We gain empowerment. We gain strength. We gain wisdom. And yeah, there's sometimes when somebody's going to come up and just say, "Oh, I can't do it. You do it for me," or wanting to pass stuff off. And really, you're being a better friend, a better loved one, a better mentor to say, you know what? Why don't you take another shot at it? Go ahead and see. I know you can do this. And that phrase, "I know you can do this," is probably one of the most helpful phrases that you could ever say to someone. Right up there with, "I believe in you." Or just do your best. We'll figure it out. See how far you get. With the knowledge, it's amazing what people can do. And with the internet, we basically have most of the collective knowledge of humanity. So the idea that, you can, I've known people who have learned to play musical instruments just by, going to a YouTube video and watching somebody do it, or who have learned how to meditate or do yoga or how to knit or whatever. We have the capacity. The knowledge is out there and it's available. So the question becomes, what is it that is keeping somebody from moving forward? What is it that is holding someone back? What holds me back when I'm right on the edge and I'm ready to leap and something is like, no. Where is that fear inside of myself? Because it's exploring what is preventing you from taking that leap. That is probably one of the most valuable things you can have. That good, hard look at the idea that if the process or knowledge of the process isn't what's keeping me from going after what I want, what is? Is it an old tape in my head saying that, I'm not whatever enough to be able to do this? Is it at some point I tried it and it didn't work out and I was really embarrassed about it? Maybe it's that, someone who I admire couldn't do it. And therefore I think, well, if they can't do it, there's no way that I can. None of those are true. Every situation is unique. Even if you have somebody who, you look up to and they couldn't do it, that doesn't mean that you can't. And it doesn't mean that you shouldn't try. It just means that maybe they have a different level of skill. Maybe it was a bad day, whatever. Don't get into comparing your ability to accomplish something with someone else's ability to accomplish something, because that's not going to get you anywhere. Look at what you want. Look at what you aspire to. Figure out what you need to know in order to achieve it. And then decide in your mind that you can do this. You don't have to leave the training wheels on forever. And you really shouldn't, because that limits you. And you deserve to have no limits. You deserve to have the best of everything. You deserve your dreams to come true. I honestly believe that, because I believe that for every person, that it is our right to be able to go after our dreams. I have been so blessed in so many ways to be able to experience things that I would have dreamed of, but I never would have never really thought I would experience. But there was always at least one person there to tell me, hey, you can do this. Why not? And whether that person was older than me or whether that person was younger than me, it still matters to have that enthusiasm. When you tell somebody, I'd really like to do this, or I'd really like to do that. And one of two things happen. Either the person goes, oh, really? You want to do that? It's ticking off all reasons why you can't. Or you say that to somebody, wow, I really wanted, I've always dreamed of doing that. And they look at you, their eyes get big and go, oh my gosh, you have to do that. You can do that. And here's some ways here's some ideas for how you can do it. And you get that enthusiasm behind you. And it's like, well, yeah, maybe I can do that. Maybe I don't have to be afraid of embarrassing myself. Maybe I don't have to be afraid of looking silly. Maybe I don't have to be afraid of failing. There's nothing wrong with failing. That there's a better way to do it. It just means that you have an opportunity to grow more. It is an event. It is not who or what you are. So take another swing at it. Nobody gets it right the first time. So you just keep at it and encourage others to do the same thing. Encourage others to believe in themselves, to keep at it, to keep going, to not accept that, oh, well, there's no way I'm going to be good at that. I could never do that. Why not? You don't know you can never do it unless, well, you look into it. Figure out a way. So you can either teach someone to fish or hand them a fish. You teach someone to fish, they're fed for life. If you hand them a fish, not only are they only fed for one meal, having to come back. And you don't get to see them standing there proud, holding up that huge trout that they caught, knowing that they're proud of themselves, knowing that they're empowered. We're all learning how to be empowered. We're all learning how to be more. And it starts by just, well, taking the training wheels off the bike and letting someone learn to fish. So thank you for joining me. And I hope that you got something out of this. And if you liked it, then you can click like, you can comment. I do go through the comments and I answer them. You can share, or you can subscribe. And it's always cool to see the community grow. So questions, you can contact me. For those listening on Blog Talk Radio, then you can leave me a message through that. And otherwise, I will be back next week. And let me know what you think about the different background, because I love my other one because, of course, it's got green in it, and that's my favorite color. It's got greens and blues. But, let me know what you think about this one. I'm trying different things, trying new things, trying to take it up to that next level. So if you have any questions, comments, or advice, please let me know. Otherwise, and until then, I wish you balance and I wish you blessings from my heart to yours. Love you. Bye.